person got back to me and she was like, I hope that's a charity rate that you're charging because they're a non-profit. And I was like, no. And she was like, you should be charging triple that based on, you know, what professional trainers get. But because I made this up a few years ago, there was no one to compare it to.
Everyone's making it up, Judie.
Everyone's making it up. I know. But
as you said, it was a few years ago, so prices have increased again.
So I think after listening to your video, Jen, I'm almost thinking of putting the prices on my site as the ones that I am aiming for.
My name is Sian Horn. I am the founder of Elite Pilates, the Club Women's Network, a national network for women that work for themselves. I also create content.
My name is Judie Russell. I teach people how to make videos through the Vid Academy, and sometimes I make videos.
My name is Jen, and I am the co-founder of a digital marketing agency called Velocity Growth.
My name is Jay Woodard. I am the founder and creative director of Ad32. We create content for SMEs, corporates, all different kind of products, food, fashion, all that kind of stuff. So it's between photo and video.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode. So this week we are going to be talking about pricing transparency, pricing strategy, all things around, there's service line and product line. There's a whole kind of world of different areas we can go into. But I guess the reason that I was looking at this topic this week is that I put out a video earlier in the week, yesterday, I believe, at the time of recording, about pricing transparency specifically for agencies. And it felt a little bit edgy in the DMs yesterday. That's for sure. People really disagreed with what I had to say about it. But we'll kick off, I suppose, with just top level thoughts on pricing transparency. Jay, do you want to dig in?
Before we do, poor Sian is dying with COVID.
Yeah.
Not actual dying, but she's very, very sick. So that's why she's not in this week's episode.
Yes.
We hope you get better soon, Sian. I attacked you on this yesterday.
You did,
I was like,
physically in the office.
I was like, thanks for fucking hanging us out there, Jen. But
that's what she does right. Well, though. She hangs us all out and goes, no. And then we have to all go, damn, okay, fine.
She's our Jen. To be fair, there's pros and cons for it. Like there's the whole thing. I like the idea. And after talking our brief talk yesterday and actually listening to the video and stuff, and I might start showing a price on my website with some things because, as you said, it gives a guideline of we're not cheaper than this.
Yeah. And
that's what I took away from that whole thing is, if you think if your figure is beneath this number, then we're not, there's no point. Yeah. So it kind of rules out that whole, just the person that can't afford our services, which is fine. We're out of their budget. But like there's a company in Dublin now, I can't remember their name. I genuinely think it's like the production company.ie or something simple like that. And they just have a rates on their website. And I was so surprised by it because they literally include everything. Their producer rate, their editor rate, their camera rate, and it's just on the website. Mm-hmm. Judie, check it out. You'd be very interested in it.
Very interested.
And it's everything. Gaffer rate, travel rate. And I was like, Jesus, they're like, what I like about that and what I don't like about that is if I took those prices and then add on, so like the client is going to do up their own quote from that. Do you know what I mean? They're going to make out their own price from that on your rate sheet. But if, as you know, a lot of projects are bespoke and extra things are needed and this kind of stuff, and there's that conversation then or the question saying, but it's supposed to be this, it's on your website, it's this. So that would be a thing for me. But I think the way you've done it, Jen, is because when I saw your video, I went straight to your website, like immediately pinged lemon7.ie. I was like, where the fuck are these prices on this bitch? but you have it done so well starting from.
Yeah.
Packages are starting from $9.50, starting from whatever it is. And I was like, that's the way to do it. Because if you had like exact pricing, it is what it is. Like then I think it's too exact.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's the starting from, it's essentially, if you think it's going to be cheaper than this, then you're out the door. And if you've gotten a quote that's way higher than this, maybe let's have a chat. If the proposal aligns similarly, it saves people the conversation to like, at the moment with agency world, you have to go out, you have to get 10 different proposals. You have to sit down, you have to compare them. They're all in different formats. What everyone offers is slightly different. And companies know what they need. Like they're not stupid. They don't need to go through the proposal phase to figure out exactly what you do. They've come to you because they're looking for what you do 9 times out of 10. So, but yeah, the base rate of it is interesting. Judie, what do you think?
Just firstly, Jay, there's a tiny bit of noise when you're moving your mic, and it's interesting actually to bring up because this is the Fifine AV8, I think, or something like that, and it is compared to the Shure MV7, which is a really, really expensive mic, but the difference is the casing. With the Shure, you can kind of move it around without it sounding bad. With this, if you've any kind of like movement, it's like...
I'm going handheld today.
Yeah. Well, no, it's fine once you're still with it. It's just when you're kind of chatting, but that sounds good there now.
Yeah.
But come here, I'm on the productioncompany.ie site. I just think this is fab. Like, I think it's fab.
Do you? You like it?
I love it from my point of view to figure out how much other people are charging.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, are you opening yourself up to competitors seeing your pricing then and then undercutting you, or?
But
like,
you should never be competing on price.
Nice.
Like, you know, it's at the end of the day, well, I mean, pricing competitiveness is something for some people to consider if they don't have any brand affinity to something. Like if I went out and I was buying some glasses for drink, like just a regular drinking glass, I'm going to go to a shop and I'm just going to pick the ones I like. And I will look at the price and make a pricing comparison there, because I don't have a brand affinity to a specific type of glass making company, for example, like nobody does. But in our world, people will tend to come to you if they've heard about you, referral, trust. Like there's a lot more typically that goes into it. Like it's very difficult to get cold leads in. But it's interesting. I'll go through the changes that putting my pricing publicly has done for my lead gen over the last few weeks as well in a minute. But sorry, Judie, I cut you off. Keep going.
Not at all. No. So like what I love about this is the director varies between 880 to 1,650 per day, producer 650 per day. Pretty much, you know, like I'm kind of like, I get these prices. I'm like, okay, this is good. With training, it's a different story. And you know, my first boss, I still run by his rules of pricing. He's like, if you charge as much as you think you should charge until you feel like that isn't enough. And I know that like sounds like obviously like obvious and stuff like that, but he's like, you'll get to a stage where you're like, I want to charge more, and then start charging more. Like it's almost intuition pricing. Like it's like, you know, rather than trying to work out how much you need to live on per year, just be like, okay, I do it for $2,000 this year, but I'd actually need $3,000 for it the next year. I know there's no science behind that, but also what I've always loved, and I didn't know there was a name for this, is go away pricing or F off pricing. It's when you price too high to dissuade a client, but if they say yes, that you'd be happy to do it for the inflated price, which I think a lot of production, like I wouldn't do that for training, but if there was a project where I was like either the location or potentially the people or something like that, and I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do it. Like it is kind of normal to inflate it, and then if the company comes back and say yes, you're like, well, I'll take the extra to compensate for the things that are turning me off this project, and it kind of makes sense. So I thought that was really funny that there's actually a name for it, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's a big thing for like people. I've had some clients come back to me or say to me, look, we need this video shot and turned around 24 hours. And you're like, oh my God, I have to go to Limerick or somewhere to shoot this for half an hour to come down to edit. And I'm like that, as you said, it's not a fuck you price, but it's I'll do it for this because this is outrageous, the request. And a lot of the time that I get perfect, you're like, son of a bitch. Okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Jesus Christ.
Whereas if you had your prices listed on your site, like I just like that's my concern. And then that's the video production side of it. The training then, in my case, I'm undercharging, I think, for training. I'm still charging like what I think is a fair price for it. But I've sent a quote to a company recently, and the person got back to me and she was like, I hope that's a charity rate that you're charging because they're a nonprofit. And I was like, no. And she was like, you should be charging triple that based on, you know, what training like professional trainers get. But because like I made this up a few years ago, there was no one to compare it to.
Everyone's making it up, Judie.
Everyone's making it up. Yeah, I know. But
as you said, yeah, it was a few years ago. So prices have increased again.
So I think after listening to your video, Jen, I'm almost thinking of putting the sites or putting the prices on my site as the ones that I am aiming for. And then also putting in something about, but please get in touch because we can tailor this. like say it's a full day, let's break it down to a 2-hour course. So if that's all your budget can extend to. So finding the right words.
Be careful with the wording, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's two things there with yours. One assumption I think throughout there is that when you put pricing on your site that you can't change it. There's no reason why I couldn't go in and change my price on my site tomorrow to, one level higher. Let's say, I'm going to incrementally increase this. The other thing that's interesting is, and I suppose this is a decision I've made for myself specifically, is that I don't want to have to go out and even consider. So like, I suppose in a digital marketing agency, when the client has come to the door where they like the requests are quite extravagant, let's say, they're just not a good fit. Typically in my world, that means that they want a delivery point that's way too high, that's too realistic or unrealistic for the ads. So for me, that just kind of like cuts that off. And the other thing is that like if pricing is on the site and someone reaches out to you and says, look, I need this extravagant thing done, but your pricing says this, you still are allowed to say no. And you're still allowed to say, no to that. You can still say, okay, well, you've just requested a proposal for €950. I'm gonna I don't want to work with you. No, like this isn't suitable for you. There's plenty of alternate reasons. Like of all the proposals that have requests that have come in through my site so far, I've actually only shipped 6 of the last 10, and the other 4 I just sent rejection emails off the bat before even having a conversation with them, before even getting on the phone.
What does a rejection email entail for you? How is it worded? Because we've talked about this in podcast before, that how important no means as well. Like you actually make money by saying no. Do you know what I mean? And it's so important. People can't get that in their head. Like the more you say no, the more money you actually make.
Yeah, well,
and people just can't fathom that, and it's interesting. So, like, is it a nice come here, we're now full, or is it we don't think this works or fits, or?
Yeah, no. One of them was for app marketing, and I specifically never run ads for app marketing. I haven't done it since the iOS 14 privacy changes, and then the subsequent rollout of iOS 17, which blocked UTM trackers, going into the app. So. The big problem I have with apps.
What's UTM, Jen?
So iOS 14, first of all, blocked the ability to track things effectively between apps. So if you went from a Facebook ad to the App Store, downloaded it, and started using another app, essentially that's a completely blind journey to me. I can't see what the user has done. And what we would do instead is we'd put a UTM tracker into the link. So the link would tell us in analytics what happened. It would give us the data in lieu of Facebook not giving us the data through a cookie. And that was pushed away with iOS 17. So, I mean, we're moving into iOS 18 now soon. So, I just stay away from it completely. The only reason is that I have always struggled to work with clients where I can't give them any information back. That ad does look pretty. How did it do? I'm guessing it's fine. I don't play in the world of guesswork. So I write an email just being like, look, I can't track it anymore, so I don't work with it. And I give them a referral to another agency that does do it still. And then some were so early. Like some were like, oh, I'm launching and I'd like to start my pre-launch lead gen. That's just too early for me to work with. Paid ads are not suitable for companies that early. So yeah, there's a few. And you make the mistakes of like working with companies that are too early, and some of them have this like perfect demand fit and some of them don't. So it's territory I'm trying to move further away from as well.
Okay.
But in terms of like pricing transparency, Jay, what do you think is what would be the biggest risk for you putting the pricing on your site? Is it the competitor seeing it? Is it like what comes to mind as the top worry?
Yeah, it would be a few things like that. So I kind of bring this back to the vlog days of way back when I had a business, and I did a vlog and I kind of showed everything that was going on inside my business, and I almost made it look like it was an easy journey, and it made it look like what I was doing is easy. And then after that, the bones of I had 9 or 10 competitors open up within 6 months because I think of what I showed. Do you know what I mean? So I've always been kind of not scorned by that, but just I'm like. And I'm one of those people as well. Like even Judie, like the last video, I hate gatekeeping on my YouTube. I like sharing information. I like helping people. I like kind of people who are behind me, I like to help them up. But it is that kind of there. It's always, I think it's an Irish thing, is it? Don't let them know your pricing, like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's there. I don't know, to be honest, like I when I joined Take 9, because there's 3 production companies in Take 9 between us, between myself, Killian and Leah, and Lewis was there as well. And like, so there's 4 when we actually joined. So we sat down one day and just discussed everything, and it was glorious because we broke down pricing, we broke down where we were, we broke down who was better than who, not who's better, but you know what I mean? Like who shined where and how they shone. But like, it was so interesting to do it that we all now kind of priced around the same. And that to me was golden. So if everyone's prices are on their websites, is that kind of a blanket effect of that happening, that a company down the road will see that I'm charging this? Oh, geez, if he's charging that, we should be charging that. Either if they're too high or too low, do that kind of stuff. Because I would actually figure out that I was overcharging somewhat. It all depends on the project and how it was. But some aspects I was like, geez, I'm a small bit expensive compared to like the likes of Leah, who's super talented. But then I could argue the point that, is Leah undercharging because she's super talented? So I think it opens a lot of conversations. But the worry is that will be the main thing. But then I look at that production.ie thing, or whatever it's called, and like I'm like, geez, I kind of like this. I kind of like that it's so open. But I like the starting from.
There's a confidence piece to it as well, isn't there? Like if you were the client looking around different sites, and it's like, Jesus, this is the only one who's actually, confident enough to have their prices on their site. There's something to.
They don't have to do a call. They don't have to fucking get a proposal. They can literally go, right, a small breakdown. This is going to cost us about $2,500. Yeah. What do you think? We'll go with them. We'll talk to them, because we know this is their cost.
Well, I was really lucky as well, because a while back, I won't say when, I was doing work for a client as a consultant to help them find an agency that did a breadth of work that I didn't do, but they wanted to work with me initially, and I said, look, this won't work out, but I'm happy to help you find the right person. So I ended up with a copy of proposals from pretty much every marketing agency in the country. Nice. It was wild, the different prices. Wow. One of the biggest agencies out there was charging like $3,000 a month for 4 social media posts. Statics.
Jesus Christ.
Like,
just because they can.
Just because they can. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was looking at like proposals from agencies, big, small, middle, and it's so true. Pricing is just arbitrary. People pull it out of thin air. And if you know your customer, you know your profit point, if you know what it entails in terms of like, you need to have this sort of reporting, this sort of monthly meeting, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Like if you have your packaging, ideal customer, and confidence in your margins, you can do this pricing transparency very well. Like I noticed a lot of the comments on the videos, like one of them was like, oh, but what if I put 1,500 on my site, and then I'm going to miss out on everyone who would have converted for 300. And I'm like, that's the wrong customer. Why? Like if you charge 1,500, someone who's looking for your service for 300, that just tells me that I can just ask you for any old pricing. And I was like, it's almost braver of you to put that in the comment, because now I can go to I went to their Instagram profile, clicked through, and I was like, oh, well, I can move through the proposal here for your design work and just say, actually, I only have 200 quid, and you're going to do the work, even though you're pricing so much higher. Like,
Yeah, that's a confidence thing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. What about you, Judie? Do you what do you think is the biggest thing that would stop you? Would it be the competitor side, or do you think you'd be potentially like what do you think would be the impact of putting pricing on your side?
I think I might try it. My site needs so much work that is like one of the last things that I'm thinking about, that I'm just like ignoring the whole thing in general. But
you're staying with Wix, yeah? You're staying with Wix?
I'm just staying.
You're staying with Wix.
I can't wait to teach you something new though in a minute. I just want my email account to create my website for me now, but we'll get to that. But what you said, Jen, you shouldn't be competing on price. And I am absolutely not competing on price. I know who my competitors are, and I know what I bring, and what I bring is different because it's all of my experiences mixed in together into a engaging, fun but also very informative workshop, you know. So like I think it would be hard to copy that. And other trainers have other ways of kind of like, you know, like differentiating against me. But you're dead right. I'm not competing on price. So what I might suggest is putting up the prices that I am aiming for. And, you know, not everyone finds me through my website anyway. So if someone does happen to stumble upon my shit website, they might be like, okay, let's see, this is a good talking point and stuff like that. But like there's other places then, like Cork Chamber Skillnet will subsidize my courses.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. It's such a benefit to the client and to me. And I just love Cork Chamber Skillnet. I love all of these little things that we have in Ireland that can just help everyone to kind of, you know, ships rising, like it kind of thing. I love that stuff. But come here, I found this site, which I think is fascinating, right? It's a clothing site called Everlane. And they have a section under all of their clothes called transparent pricing. So this gathered maxi dress went from €200 to €600 final sale, right? And then you scroll down to the bottom and it's like, we publish what it costs to make every one of our products. There are a lot of costs we can neatly account for, like design, fitting, wear, that we can't account for, rent on office, retail space. But we believe that you deserve to know what goes into making it. Materials, $15.36. Hardware, $216, labour, $11.39, duties, $44.63, transport, $61. So when you add them all up, they're losing money. Their full price, like the total cost is $74.15, and they're selling it for 60 quid. But even if it was at 200 quid, like I'm not going to be able to make that dress. So like, you know, they're up mark on that. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You know, but I think it's really cool. I didn't know how I'd feel about it until I read it. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Seeing like that, they can be smart in the scenario here. Like, so like, yes, to buy a singular dress of that nature off their supplier is 15, whatever it is. But if they buy 3,000 of them, they get it at this price.
Yeah.
So that, like, they're being transparent, but maybe they're not being 100%. That's the profit margin. That's how they make it. That's great. Because you have to wonder then if they go wholesaling that, like, what's the price point there? How do they even survive? Like,
yeah,
it's cool though.
Yeah.
Like, do you care? Genuinely, would you do that for every time you go buying clothes to go look at the pricing transparency?
It would.
Or do you think it's just
it's one of those things where like it comes down to the fact that it's there more so than the actual consumption of it. And it's kind of the same for us in many ways as well, because it's a radical differentiator on your website. Like you can if you put that on your website and then you go back one step and say, okay, right now I'm going to compete on my messaging and compete on my positioning, which is what you're actually competing on at the end of the day. And you get that right. And then the two layers are there. It's very interesting, you know. It just like go to any major agency website in Ireland, you're not going to find pricing, and you're probably going to see a lot of talk about companies that are like, I'm not saying Leia Healthcare specifically, but as in like it'll be like a set of 8 logos that are like Leia Healthcare and, you know, these kind of tiered brands, and it'll be that, you know, that kind of setup. Yeah, so it's interesting, you know. Like I also don't compete with agencies that have a team of 50 to 70 people where you go through, you know, the sales flow, and then you're going around the other side and you're getting, depending on what price point you've come in at, you're getting a junior, senior, or whatever level marketer. You know, there's all that side to it as well. So
that
happens with accountants as well.
Sorry, Jay.
No, I'm saying that happens with accountants as well, like all that junior, senior level, no matter how big it depends on the price tag of the project.
Yeah. Like, and that's what your point in the video, because I was trying to remember. I was like, what was the main point? It was that if you're charging one client more and another client less for the same thing, you're going to naturally do more for the client who you're charging more to if they're in trouble. So the client who's paying your base rate is going to get left behind. That was kind of the...
It was more like if 2 people want the same thing and one is paying more, you're naturally going to continue to prioritize them as opposed to even correctly distributing your time. Because like you're in the world of agencies, your time is your service. Like you're selling your time essentially. And a lot of agencies, especially agencies that just go into one niche. Like I've seen, this is something I dislike mostly because like in the world of paid ads, I can't have 2 competing clients just from like not a price point, but because like if I have 2 competing clients, if I have 2 gyms on the book I'm going to pick the one who's paying me more to be in position one, haven't I, in the ads? Like for me, it gets very competitive. But then you've got these marketing agencies out there that are specifically for gyms. And then what happens in that situation? Like whoever's paying the most is getting the most, not only in time input, but in favoritism over positioning in the ads.
Wow.
This is why I did the retainership. They're my strategic partnerships as well with people. I say 4 spots. I have 1 spot available, little ad there. But but do you know what I mean? This way, these people are paying me monthly and they're paying me well to be their guy, their content guy. They ring me if they have any problems. They ring me if they have ideas, this kind of stuff. Like I had a client call just before the podcast. I was late because I was with them and we were going through all the things for this month, next month, all that kind of stuff. And I become their kind of marketing person in a way, and I'm fully in with them. Like and I've said this to people, like once I'm in, like you have to screw me over to get me out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I become part of their team somewhat. And that's why if they need to call me, that's why I ask that price, because I know I'm coming in and I know my value I'm bringing. So I think for people listening, that could be an option for people, that if you're afraid to charge this much, just understand that you're becoming part of their team and stuff. And I think it works for my business, and anything else on top then is golden. Like the different projects, video projects and stuff is great. And I have time for that as well, because if you manage your time well.
Yeah. See, there it is again. Like it's your positioning there. Like you're positioning yourself as an extension of someone's team. And when you're positioned as the extension of a team, you're not even compared to other agencies at that point. You're compared to a hire. What's the cost of a hire over you then? You know? Like a full-time hire and the training costs and all the rest of it. It's really interesting. Like I put a little grid on my site as well. I don't know if you've seen it, and I don't know what kind of impact it's having. I must actually put a heat map on my site and see if people are reading it. But it's like us traditional agents, like the grid is essentially like all of the different lists of different things that can go right or wrong. It's like us, a traditional agency, or a hire. Like if you're hiring a marketer, if you're thinking of using a traditional agency versus using us, and it's like cost, and it's like transparent pricing. It's like, I know minimum contracts, and then like traditional agencies, like best of luck to you, I don't know. And then it's like a hire, well, you're looking at least 60K a year plus training, you know. So it's, you know, it plus
pension, plus fucking health, plus
everything else. Yeah. So it's like a grid of it. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a table just with a list of different things. Like yeah. But it's
Jen, how do you like? I would have thought that this was wizardry now that was beyond my level of intelligence. But how do you put a heat map on a site? Is it easier than it used to be?
Really easy. Yeah. There's one called Hotjar that's particularly good. Microsoft has one called Clarity, I believe. There's loads of them out there. You just copy, they give you a small piece of code that you can copy and paste into the header of your site. Or if you've Google Tag Manager, you can just add it there. But yeah, I think Hotjar is free for your first 100 users, and 100 users is plenty to see where they're hovering on your page.
And that's what it shows, just for anyone who doesn't know it. It shows you red for where people are. And you don't even have to click. Is it just where the mouse is on the page, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and on mobile, you can see where their kind of thumb has stopped and things like that. So you get a live visual recording of someone navigating your website, and you realize how erratic human behavior is when you watch them. It's like, you think you're so normal, like on a website, just like going around moving, scrolling up and down, whatever. But it's actually erratic. And it's even, do you know the are you a robot options that come up sometimes, where you click all of the different icons?
Bikes and
a robot can do that. A robot can pick out that it's bikes. Actually, what it's tracking is the ability to select those correctly and the erraticness of the mouse movements in between. Because as humans, we go, oh, that one and that one and that one. Whereas like robots are like din din din.
Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting.
That is scary, isn't it?
I know.
Did you see that new AI voiceover from Artlist? Lads above, it is phenomenal.
I was checking it out.
Is that the one you sent us last week?
Phenomenal. No, did I send it last week? Did I?
Yeah, I think you put it into the group, and I went there and I was like, oh yeah, I have an account with this, and I've used it before.
I have one here. My voiceovers. I was messing around with my kids Oh no, it was with Leah, right? From Take 9. So you type it in, and this I literally have it here. Look,
Can't hear anything.
Not playing. Dang.
can you hear that?
No.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, isn't that
Oh, maybe
weird?
because it's playing through. Sorry.
What
how
you
do I
got,
do that
Aoife?
now?
We'll have to. Will you send Aoife the audio of
you.
it afterwards if we can get her to add it in?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. That's weird. Isn't cancelled it out, isn't it?
I never really liked Leah. Even the first day I met her, I thought to myself, nah, this lady ain't worth my time.
But it's phenomenal, and you can pick different, like David Attenborough voices, like Western kind of style voices, female Irish voice. Like it's just phenomenal. The pitch, the tone, the speed, and you're literally dragging, and it's just adjusting. It's class. Judie, I'll still hire you for voiceovers, I promise. But
What am I using for voiceovers that I've created a clone engine and it's really good?
Murph?
It's not. No. It's another
11
one.
Labs. Hey, Jen.
11 Labs. I just think 11 Labs is insane.
Yeah, 11
so I
Labs
wonder,
is like the golden standard for AI voice at the moment as well.
check this out though, artlist.io. It's phenomenal.
Can I tell you my teach me because I'm so
I'm
excited.
just about to move into it. Yeah. Go for it.
That
You
was
can
my
go first, Judy.
That was my teach me.
Yeah.
That was my teach me.
Go for it.
So, do you know what I hate is multiple different softwares for everything. I know, Jen, this is your secret sauce. You were the ultimate merging of all the softwares into your secret Jen Brian recipes and stuff like that. But I'm like, give me one thing that I can do everything with. So anyway, Calendly has always wrecked my head, and having calendar softwares as an extra. So go into your Google Calendar if you use it. There's a button called Create, and then you can create an appointment schedule that's automatically all within Google Calendar, and then you can send out a link and they can book it. And it is, I'm just so grateful. I'm just so grateful that this is.
Can they pay through that link like Calendly?
There's a Stripe option as well to add to it,
Okay.
and it's very, very advanced. Actually, I was looking at it today, and I was like, "Thank you, Google." Now, just
why are they pushing that?
Build me a website. I don't know.
They're just slowly slapping Canva in the face, like really slowly, just like that slow motion. Fuck you. It's like when Apple brought out Apple Tag. Do you remember Tile? We're like, no.
Yeah, because that kind of literally making that move almost destroys Calendly.
Oh,
right?
it absolutely does, with the exception of the effort of moving.
Yeah.
And also, if you're Outlook based, or if you're not using Google G Suite as your primary kind of
Who's Outlook based these days?
public sector.
It's so funny. Like I know instantly what kind of client you're going to be if you're Microsoft or Google.
No judgment.
It's true. I have no judgment, but I know like it's all right if we dilly-dally on one and not on the other. Okay.
Do you know what baffled me as well is people use the Apple Mail?
Oh yeah.
Don't get it.
Triggered.
Don't get it. Triggered.
Triggered.
I do have to get into Superhuman now. I want to start doing more blitzes. I feel I'm picking my phone up a lot more and I don't like it. Like because of myself and Jen sat down on Friday and she walked me through this whole campaign for Instagram and stuff. So I have that going in the background. But it's DM messages and stuff. So I've turned the notifications back on for my Instagram. But sure, I'm on 7 pages. Like, so I'm getting every notification under the sun. So I'm trying to figure it out. I might just turn it off again and go back and just check the messages sporadically on Instagram.
Turn it off because the automation and just review the automation sequence that you put in place to when the messages are incoming, and have a note on it, just being like, just to let you know, this is an automated reply to get some information from you to get started, and then I'll drop back on and pop you an email once your email comes through or whatever the case is. Yeah. I
have it at the end of this. I have it at the end of the automation. Thank you so much for all the info. We take 3 to 5 business days, and we'll be in touch within them with your audit, whatever it is. And they're like, "Thanks, Megan."
Yeah.
So
have you had much come true from it?
You know, I've had 3 people know this morning. They could be nothing, they could be something, but it's interesting. Like, it's starting to kick off. Like,
yeah, that's good. Yeah, Judie, we'll have to.
Can we also talk that I broke 1,000 subscribers on YouTube?
Woo! Yes. Hard work pays off.
I'm a partner, perhaps. You know, and I'm still going.
Making that dollar.
Oh, lads, I am making bank. I am up to €1.16, baby.
Oh,
nice.
Unreal.
Very nice.
Up to 1,122 subscribers now.
That's moving quick, yeah.
Yeah.
My
Classic.
monthly estimated revenue is €34.11.
Judy, buy us all
great,
coffee.
I mean, that's great. Like, for just sitting there, like, you know what I mean? It's great. Like, that's your petrol for a week.
For just sitting there and killing myself making training videos for the last 5 years.
One time you made that.
We'll wrap this week's episode there unless anyone has a final teach me something new that's pricing based, because I just realized that all of our teach me something news were wild and wacky and outside of the topic.
Totally.
I think it's fucking talking from the heart, but be true to yourself in pricing. If you feel that you're undercharging and you're nervous about it, just overcharge and see what happens. There's nothing worse than like when you say to someone, "Oh, this can be €1,000." They're like, "Yeah, no problem." You're like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Shit.
Can I
don't put yourself under pressure.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, an existential question that it keeps coming up on my Instagram. It's like, people who are like, work hard behind the scenes. Don't tell anyone your next step. Show up when your business is launched. Don't tell them you're going out with someone until you're getting married. Like, it's like, we were kind of mentioned this earlier, Jay, where it's like, don't, like, Irish people are kind of like, oh, we just keep everything behind us. Do you think that is the way to go? Or do you think that the way is to talk about what you're doing and get support? Because I see those videos and I'm like, that's not how I behave at all. And maybe I should be, but I don't want to be influenced by things that I don't really understand.
It's real tech bro vibes, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like people who've been scorned before or hurt, and they want to. We're tough. We keep it all in. We're rocking. Like, you got to talk. You got to vent. Like, when I had hooks and I was closing on hooks, I didn't talk to anyone.
Yeah,
I didn't tell. Like, I barely talked to my wife over the whole thing. Like, and it was so detrimental to my business. It really was. Like, I needed help, and I didn't ask for it. Like, plain and simple, I didn't ask for it. I was too proud. What will people think? Geez, everyone thinks I'm so busy. What would I can't else can say. Like, if I got on, as Sian said, and gone to my customers, lads, we're dead at the moment. What's going on? Why aren't you coming in? The difference, who knows what the difference could have been? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when I close the second shop, like, talk to people, like. But yeah, I talk to people. Always talk to you, and just on your chest. Don't have it on your chest.
Yeah.
And if you have a very, very hard phone call or conversation to have it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Get it done, because you're going to be looming. You're going to be thinking about it all day. It's going to destroy your life. You're going to be overthinking the whole thing. Just get it done. If I wake up, if I have a problem, I'm going to ring that person. I remember there was a whole thing we did with a Christmas market, and there was kind of not money, but it was money issues. And this guy's being quite abrupt about it and quite forward, saying, "Lads, I'll call to your house if you don't." And we were like, "Hold on a second, pal. We haven't said yes or no to anything. It was whatever was the whole issue was." But I rang him first thing in the morning, and I think he was quite surprised by it. And I was like, "Look, what's going on? We need to talk this out. Like, what's happening here?" And I think if I didn't, that would have been looming. That would have been all this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? The whole thing. So you have to talk to people straight away, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you don't ask, you don't get, Judie, and half that comes with the transparency of what's going on anyway.
Yeah, totally. Like, and like, it's saying like, don't tell anyone about your goals. I just totally disagree with that. But I'm like, everyone on my Instagram, why is this the algorithm pushing this at me? Am I supposed to change how I behave, kind of thing? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, I always, if I'm going to do something, I have to tell people I'm doing it. Otherwise I won't. Like, when I quit smoking, it's like, oh, I'm not smoking anymore, Judie. Oh, I'm not smoking anymore. I don't just stop smoking, because otherwise everyone's like, do you want to say, no one's helping me. Everyone's like, do you want to fag? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, go on. But I was watching that documentary. There's a documentary on Netflix called Sprint, and I watched it over the last few days, and it is so good. But one of the athletes, he posted a story being like 1910 and 965. And what he was alluding to was like, these are his goal times for the 200 meter sprint and the 100 meter sprint. He won gold in both. But there was absolute pandemonium that he was like cocky enough to put out these times into the world. But in reality, what he was doing was just showcasing his goals, and now he was out in the world. It was the pressure was on him then to achieve it. So there's two sides to it. One is like, you can have the transparency and use it as a leverage point, or a forcing function for you to actually achieve those as well. If it's out in the wild, you kind of want to get it done more than if it's just you yourself trying to move boulders.
Even the YouTube, like we were holding each other accountable, like pushing it, and that you're just holding, like you hold yourself accountable, and like if like you were saying, oh, I'm not smoking more, and then they saw your cigarette, Judie goes, oh, I thought you weren't smoking. And you're like, yeah, fuck it, you're right.
Yeah.
It kind of just, it holds you accountable, like, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I love these chats, guys. Thank you.
We'll wrap it there. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening this week. Like, subscribe, share, follow us, do all the good stuff. And if you want to chat with any of us, just drop us a DM on Instagram. You'll find us there. And yeah, see you next week. Bye.